leaving you behind. Now, this is time for revenge!
This right here was my first attempt at art. And I had no doubt in my mind that I was going to be the next Tarantino. I started making videos when I was in 4th grade with my friend Carl. Ever since that day, I loved the process of movie making. Filmmaking was the highest artistic calling because I was able to capture an emotion and share it with somebody else through a movie. The emotion I was capturing with most of my early work was cringe.
Here's a video to encourage all you fat people.
Hong Kong? Yeah!
I've done a lot of cringy shit in my life, and luckily I have it captured in movies. My most infamous cringy video was my first short film called Love Drug. But I loved her. I know, I'm still waiting for my Oscar nomination on that one. I pretended to be a ring girl, I acted like a frat boy, and I've said the corniest things when I was going through my depressed sad boy days. Wouldn't it be best to fully maximize the human experience? The line between corny and artistic expression is razor thin. With all the content I've made over the years, it's dawned on me. Why do people create art? If all this stuff that I end up making is going to be corny in a couple years, why even bother? Have you ever heard of the term, the opposite of depression is expression? I read that in a corny ass Instagram post back in 2014 when all my photos looked like this. For me personally, I started creating art because your boy was going through it. It was a way for me to fully express myself and see beauty in the mundane. I recently went to some art studios here in Calgary and met artists and asked them, does art require suffering?
I think that the act of making art is sacrifice in itself because you're spending time and energy to create some kind of a vision.
I personally have been through a lot of suffering in my life. I think art doesn't require a lot of suffering, and yet personally I'm going through a lot of what one could consider a lot of suffering.
I mean, it requires on the base level effort.
I don't know if it requires suffering. I do think a lot of great art comes out of suffering.
I don't think so. There are art that are inspired by suffering, but there are also art that are inspired by happy moments. So it's I think it really depends on the artist's perspective.
Mine did, and I went through a period of addiction recovery and mental illness, and if it weren't for those processes, I don't think I'd be where I am today.
Yeah, well, it requires sacrifice for sure. It's difficult to live from art.
Art can also require a lot of joy and require a lot of, things other than suffering.
It's probably the most effort you'll put into anything is making your own art. Also, you could say vulnerability.
The best art comes from suffering. The rose that grew from concrete, Van Gogh's unsuccessful art career, Charles Bukowski's shortcoming as a writer. The reason people find art so relatable is because artists express truth that regular people are too afraid to say or do themselves. Bukowski quoted, "Find your passion and let it kill you." It resonates with a lot of people, but most people won't actually do it. I met someone who said they'd rather let the next 20 years go by to retire than to open his dream bar where he'd be a Scotch connoisseur. I think mixology isn't art. He's just stuck in the artist closet. I was told by my grandpa to be a nurse while I wanted to make movies. My guidance counselor forced me to take biology as my backup route in case filmmaking didn't work out. My drug dealer wanted to help me expand his drug empire when all I wanted to do was make YouTube videos. I see artists and entrepreneurs as the outliers in today's society. We're going against the status quo when our parents, our teachers, and our plugs tell us to take the safe route.
I think it's healthy to be able to learn how to express yourself, and that a lot of trouble in the world is from people feeling emotions and not really knowing what to do with them and not knowing how to get it out of their minds and out of their bodies. And if you don't feel comfortable expressing yourself creatively, then you're kind of stuck.
I definitely grew up with the message of artists don't get to live a particularly comfortable life, artists don't get to go on vacations, artists don't get to buy cars.
find your passion and do it for a living. It's more possible now than ever.
And I would say in this day and age, that's very not true. You can make money as an artist.
The capitalist system is detrimental to our spirits, whether it be telling artists not to pursue their dreams or telling carpenters not to become tradespeople. The whole narrative that you need to make money in order to be successful is hurtful to everyone.
You don't have to be a starving artist. I think that's kind of like a bit of an outdated way of thinking about art.
Art is everywhere, and artists can be incredibly prosperous, and just because you went to business school doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be successful, and just because you went to art school doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be poor.
Even the people who are in those professions of doctor, engineer, lawyer, they are doing it for the wrong reasons in many cases, because they're financially motivated instead of motivated by their heart to care for people and to care for society. So
these artists come from good intentions. I've met entrepreneurs who say they care about their customers, but they just care about making money. If you're doing anything for money, you're doing it for the wrong reason. Because money is empty on its own. Money is just the tool that will help you get closer where you need to be. All the movies that I create for you guys don't come from a monetary motivation. They come from good intentions. I'm trying to see truth, beauty, and humor through a world that can be hard at times. The message that I'm trying to say is ultimately positive.
What message are you trying to say through your art?
Well, I just hope that people see something in it and feel acknowledged in some sort of way. That they feel something or in a visual way that they haven't been able to express themselves.
I think I want to make art that sort of gives you some sort of like visceral reaction right away, and that's pretty like joyful and funny, but then has layers that can be peeled back, and is a lot about the challenging world that we live in and the complexities of our current modern life.
I don't think there's a message. I just kind of want to give people good music and maybe like an escape, I guess.
I really make my art so people just enjoy it. I want it to make people smile. I want them to feel happy when they see it, when they use it, when they interact with it, and that's kind of all I want to bring into the world with what I make.
My work is really a combination of both trying to find my past while also trying to figure out the future.
I do a lot of work with the Medicine Wheel and Sacred Medicine Gardens, and that art I'm trying to bring together community to celebrate our Indigenous heritage, our connection to the land and to each other. What's important for my art is that Louis Riel, the founder of the Métis Nation, he said, "My people will sleep for 100 years, and when they awake, it will be the artists who give them their spirits back." And so for me, the message that I'm trying to convey is, wake up, live. We're only in this world for a short time.
My artwork focuses on gender violence and more specifically feminicide, which is the killing of women because of their gender. Open up the conversations to what's happening in Mexico, where I come from, and in Canada with the thousands of missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit people.
If there's something that you want to say, just start creating. We live in an era where we have the opportunity to connect with the globe in the palm of our hands, but we use it to scroll through TikTok watching these fake prank videos. The mission for this channel is to create unaverage fools, which to me means being a unique individual. You're not average, you're different. The first step of that is finding your unique voice. Content creators are the future artists of this generation. I know this is some Gary Vee shit, but start recording yourself and show the world through your unique lens.
One piece of advice you have for aspiring artists?
If you have a grand idea, go for it in a grand way.
Make the work that only you can make with your experience and your expertise and your particular life that you've lived. You need to figure out what that is and make that work.
Don't wait, just start doing your thing and try to really focus on having your own voice in your art.
Just do it, man. Honestly, it takes a lot of effort. That's what it's for. If you don't put effort on anything, then you're not gonna get shit done.
Make a ton of really bad shit. That's literally the only way it gets better. It's you just make really bad stuff for a long time, and then suddenly you start to like what you're making, and it becomes better and better and better.
Work with mentors, not schools, because schools are fabulous for people who are good at school, but artists tend to be better at learning from mentors.
Fuck it and do it. And then you'll find your crowd, you'll find your people that love your work and that are gonna support you.
Do you still have doubts in your mind? You still think creating is a waste of time? Do you still think you should pursue that nursing career? No disrespect to my Filipinos out there, but I hope this answers your question.
Why create art?
Create art to communicate with others. There's more to communication than just the alphabet or the words that we've learned. And it's the only way that we can expand our vocabulary without actually like writing it down.
Well, I think there is some deep drive deep down in all of us to make things. It gives us a chance to explore our humanity and to find meaning and to create.
Just bring more joy into the world and have fun. Do your thing.
Because you need to. Art is a self-expression, right? And it's an outlet. I create art for people to relate to it without having for me to like just like spoon feed people of like what I'm trying to say.
For yourself. If you do it for anybody else, you're just going to be unhappy.
I personally believe that antimatter is the realm of the spirit, where we go when we dream, where we draw our creative energy from. And so I believe that what's happening when we create art is we are reaching into that unknown and bringing back a little piece of that unseen world into our reality. And I think that's a really powerful magic, and people underestimate just how powerful that magic is.
With no art, we wouldn't have your favorite musicians. We wouldn't have your favorite movies. We wouldn't have your favorite comics. Art is our only outlet to turn pain into ecstatic beauty. That's why we should create art. Let the world hear your unique perspective. Let them hear your voice. Allow yourself to be free. It's time to come out of the closet. The artist closet. Stay on Average Fools.